Yo, what up? What's going on? Let's get to work. Coolio, what's up with everybody? Oh. Alright, I'm just gonna do what we gotta do. Alright. We got a little bit of gap up in the market today. You know what? This is going to suck a little bit of the range out of it. We're just in we're in an odd spot because like on a long-term basis, obviously we're still in a big bull trend. But the last couple days, like we've had, right, a little bit of weakness. But now the gap up days are the worst. So the gap up kind of takes a little bit of the range out of the day. Because what it does is it kind of puts you right back into this congestion zone from, you know, the previous days. These are the toughest days to trade. Like when the market's weak and then you get a gap up in the market, it takes all the range out, all the fun out. The gap is not monstrous. You know, we're like 0.5% or so on the SPY. But when you have short-term weakness and then you have, say, long-term bullishness and then you get the gap, then what happens, you get kind of conflicting action on different time frames. And that makes it a really tricky day to type trade. So you got to be a little bit careful today. You know, this is one of those days you may be sitting around a little bit waiting for the trend to set because you don't necessarily know if the gap's going to hold or if it's just going to refade back. Like yesterday was a bitch to trade. And besides Roku, maybe there wasn't really much going on. You know, it was like 1 second you're thinking like, oh shit, market's a short, right? And then it's like, oh, we're long. And then it's short. No, we're long. And you're kind of playing that spin cycle when you're in a range day. And, you know, gap up kind of takes a little bit, makes it even a little bit more confusing. You know, after you have a range day, sometimes it's just nice to kind of fucking break the bottom of the range and get a nice swoosh down to some levels of support. That'll give you some nice opportunity, but this is going to make it a little bit more tricky, but that's okay. Different stocks on the watch list over here. We got Yeti over here for, you know, just basically this would be like a high tight flag, right? You know, you're just looking for a breakout. This is a type of stock too. You know, you can roll like an ORB on it or a quick pullback buy. You got just a kind of nice sweet spot here, and it's hugging that 9 EMA. The one thing is, you know, even with the market when it getting dusted the other day, this one never broke support, right? This one actually held support. So that's a really, really good sign. The caveat on this one is going to be that it only does like 1.5 million shares in volume. You know, some of the big heaters that are kind of popping up recently, right? They're doing like a lot more in intraday volume. You know, like the stuff I like to trade usually will have like 10 million, 15 million. But we'll see if it starts to kind of ramp up as you break those highs. Overall, the IPO market, remember you got the Lyft IPO coming and some other stuff. So, you know, there's a shot that, right, some of these IPOs really start to get cooking and get going. So they can break these out. STNE is another one. It has a very similar look to Yeti. You know, you can see, right, and this one just had its earnings the other day. But you're starting to get about a 5-6 day consolidation. It may need one more day, because usually you want to see that 9 EMA kind of tuck up under it on these IPO stocks before they break out of their flag. You know, you're still like kind of $2 away. So it may need another day. The other thing is this one's already gapping up like 2.5%. So we'll have to see how it acts. It definitely does have the profile to move like 10%, 15% in a day. It's been doing, you know, it does that actually quite often where you get like kind of a $2, $3 range. So definitely this one is, and this one has more liquidity than Yeti. So, you know, I would put this a little bit higher than Yeti, even though Yeti looks like it's ready now, where this one looks like it might need a day. This SRNE is getting a little push on this. You know, you had some big volume days the previous days. You're already starting to see, like in the pre, this thing started pushing on almost no volume. So somebody's already kind of boosted this thing up somewhere, buying on this thing. So probably watch for some shitty chat room to have an alert on this thing. But you may you may get a little action on this. You can't ignore the volume from the previous couple days. Roku, you know, this thing looked like a bear flag just 2 days ago, and then yesterday it just went, you know, it just went monk. Even though the market was in a range, this one had like $5-6 in the kitchen on it, which is pretty good. I would have wished it kind of closed over the 20 SMA. It closed right under it, but now in the pre-pre, it's already breaking out. Watch the previous day's high. So like 69's previous day's high. If you can push over that and hold, then you've got yourself some nice action on this thing. What you don't want to do, though, is make sure you kind of chase a spike into the resistance point of the previous day. Let it settle and kind of base out and then go. But that'll be like your trigger point. And then as long as you hold over that level, you can start watching intraday dips and stuff like that. Derm looks pretty good here, too. You got a nice high-type flag here off a news a few days ago. This one's going to have pretty much range. It was up 7% yesterday. Had a pop into the close, which is good to see, right? That's when you kind of, all right, that's where we're going to try to run this up the next day. And then this AMD's in a bounce, so you had a triple tap breakout, and you kind of retesting over here. And now it's good to go. Let's talk about gappers. I think this ALDX is probably going to be the more interesting play for today. You can already see in the pre-pre, right? This thing's popped up, and now you're already starting to base out on this. I think that this one's going to have, this one's going to have a little bit of heat on it, if it can hold. So this $10 mark, if you go back to December, 1 test, 2 tests. So this would be the 3rd test and break over it. Hey, Guarav, what's up? This is going to be the 3rd test and break over it. So now, as long as you can hold that 10 spot, we can start watching for intraday patterns and see how it develops. I think that this is one because you got 14.3 million share float on it. This is one that can do an opening range breakout or some type of ORB in a short-term pattern. It's already got, this must be, 1.5, 2 million shares in volume, maybe even higher. So that's what you want to see. What we're noticing with the stocks that are breaking out, right? The ones that are having like the big runs, they typically already doing like 1 million plus volume in the pre-market, and then it just starts really, really going because like the real hot ones that we've seen, they get into like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 by the end of the day. And that's what you really need to see to get something that turns explosive, right? That turns into something that could be exponential, right? We're looking for stocks that can have an intraday range and pops of 10% plus, at least when you're dealing with this type of stock, right? Not when you're dealing with like Roku's and Netflix's, but when you're dealing with like, the more dark side of trading, then that's what you're looking for. This BBY's popping up on some news. The one issue with this is like this already got $4 damn range. It's a retail stock, and that's a lot for a retail stock. Retail stocks don't have huge range. I don't know what the news is. I didn't want to even read it, but we'll have to keep an eye because if it can hold out over 17, it's got a chance. The caveat on this one that takes it to kind of like a B minus is that it's retail and it's Bed Bath & Beyond, right? Anytime you go into a Bed Bath & Beyond store, you just get jobbed by some old lady, trying to sell you mints for your toilet, and next thing you know, your toilet, you're taking a dump, it smells like crap, then you got these mints in there, now you're mixing it all together, it turns into some type of toxic fume, then you get out and you feel drunk, like you just sniffed gasoline. It's happened to me twice. You don't want to go into Bed Bath & Beyond, so, long term this is probably a short. You don't want to do that type of stuff to your bodies, okay? So I think that's it. This Atos is popping up, but this thing is a turd. The one thing is, though, the daily chart looks okay because it kind of held the support here. You are starting to kind of flag out here and do all that kind of stuff. So it's all right. This one could have a chance to go too. We'll keep an eye on it. So short list, hot list. We don't need too many. Make sure you don't chase the market up too much. What happens if the market starts to fly and everything, looks like a chase? Then stick with the PR earnings breakout type stocks. They're gonna have, because they move regardless of what's happening in the market, right? So when you think about like markets in general, stocks that have fresh news out, they have they have independent order flow to like really what's happening with the general market. So just be mindful of all that. Trade well. Let's go do what we got to do. Hasta mañana. I'll be in the boom boom room doing what I got to do. Peace.